Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Scar. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 866-914-607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak, again pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Okay, well, welcome everyone. We'll do a Board of Commissioners roll call. Commissioner Bell?
Good morning.
Good morning. And I will just let you all know that Commissioner Fournier is not with us this morning. He had another meeting to attend. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into our regular list of presenters with Adventist Health Tillamook. Eric.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
10 patients in the hospital today. We have 3 surgery cases scheduled. Ambulance crews did 5 911 transports yesterday, 1 transfer, no transports home. Today we have 153 patients boarding at emergency departments across Oregon. That's 43 more than yesterday. And there's 338 discharge delays, no change from yesterday. Just want to remind everybody that this Sunday, February 2nd, can you believe it's February already, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the North County Rec District on 9th Street in Nehalem, we will be doing our annual Art for the Heart reception. So it'll be a time for the community to come and look at the art show that celebrates Heart Month and vote on their favorite pieces of art. And we have some good food and good music, and it's from 1 to 3 this Sunday, so I hope to see lots of people there. And unless you've got questions for me, I'll go back on mute.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Any questions for Eric?
I don't have any questions. This is Mary Faith, but I just want to say how pleased I am that Adventist Health is still doing Art for the Heart. It was my pleasure to start that many years ago, and now I can't even think of how many years that might have been, but 10 maybe. And it's just a beautiful event, and I'm really grateful that it's ongoing, and I know that the community really appreciates it. So thank you.
Thank you. And if we can figure out how long we've been doing it, that would be great. I would love to know that. I was thinking about that when I was looking at the notes this morning. But the exhibit's open through February 28th, but the reception is, I think, the fun part when the artists are there and we vote on the best of show and other awards are given. And of course, there's food. That's the good part too.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay. All right. We will go ahead and move on. Typically, this would be our time for the Coastal Caucus. I know that Cyrus, Representative Javity, it looks like you're with us. That's wonderful. I was just going to say Senator Weber sent her regrets. So you are on.
Oh, great. Well, good to talk to you. I just got to the Capitol, so I don't have my notes, but I also have to run the committee meeting that I'm stepping out of just to spend a few minutes on the call. It's been a busy week. Last week was, and we just started this week. Last week was the first official week back. We had Martin Luther King Day off, but starting Tuesday, we had our committee meetings. I'm on this year we'll be serving on the Healthcare Committee, the Early Childhood and Human Services Committee, and the Housing and Homelessness Committee. In the first week, typically, the chairs of the committees, we don't really listen to bills. Instead, what we do is we invite in the agencies to give us an update on what's been happening over the last 7-8 months. And also for the newest members of the committees to give them a little bit behind the scenes peek at, which agencies are involved and what are the top issues facing the agencies. And they set the table for what their legislative asks are going to be. So for the upcoming session. So that was last week. In early childhood, we spent 2 hours talking about childcare. The different programs, the amount of funding that's available, where they're falling short, what the lay of the land is in each of the, from a statewide level where we didn't really get into the county level, but gave us an opportunity as members of the committee to ask questions. We also talked about unemployment and food stamps and other types of safety net benefits that are available to members of the state, for a variety of reasons. And so we got updates from those agencies and discussed some of the frustrations that people have had over the last couple of years with accessing those benefits, and kind of hearing what the agencies, what the causes of those were, and then what they're proposing that we do about it. So I thought it was very, very helpful. On healthcare, we had an update from Medicaid. There's some concern about whether the federal government will continue to fund Medicaid and under the new administration. So they were kind of giving us an outlook either way. What would be the impact if they don't fund Medicaid? What will be the impact if they do? And then what specifically is Medicaid trying to do in Oregon to expand benefits, and how that would relate to healthcare for our rural hospitals, for example, and rural providers. So that was helpful. We took a few minutes to talk about our senior citizen population with respect to dental benefits, and there's a lot of interest, thankfully, in providing, at least in the short term, Medicaid dental benefits for emergencies for senior citizens who wouldn't otherwise qualify. So I think that's a huge benefit that we'll potentially get to see back by the end of the session. So I was excited to hear about that. And not just because I'm a dentist, but largely because I'm a dentist. And then we had our housing and homelessness discussion, and we got an update yesterday from the head of OCHS, which is the state's agency that administers the housing programs, and heard from them, what they're trying to do. There's obviously, and you can sense it in the room when we're talking about, a lot of frustration with the limited amount of progress that's been made. And, the agency is kind of pitching it as, hey, this is like a boulder we're trying to get moving, and it's going to roll slowly at first, but once we get it going, it'll really make a difference. And so I'm hopeful that that's an accurate assessment. We didn't get into too many of the details about what needs to change yet. They'll be coming back to give us those updates. And we also, on the same topic, heard from the economists that the state hired to do the statewide housing needs analysis, and got to hear how they came up with their numbers, what they're projecting, some of the problems and shortfalls that led to our current state of affairs, and what needs to be done. Of course, it was from a very high level, but we were able to share some experiences from our districts with the economists and with the head of the agencies. They're definitely aware of what we need, and that we'll be coming back to ask for a lot more in the areas of zoning, building codes, land development, et cetera. So no specific bills were heard this week. We'll start hearing bills today in some of the committees. Up on the table for our healthcare will be pharmacy benefit managers. That's going to how many pharmacists or pharmacies we have in places like Tillamook and Clatsop County, where over the years we've lost pharmacies. We've lost a write-up, and Clatsop, we've lost Tillamook Pharmacy and Tillamook, and our options are getting slimmer. And so one of the first things we're going to talk about is what can we do to make it so it's profitable to run pharmacies in rural communities. We're talking about as well. My mind just went blank. But Medicaid funding as well. So I mentioned at the beginning that just the federal government may or may not want to fully fund Medicaid in the states this year. Part of our the way we're structured, every state's structured the same way. We have to make a specific ask every year. There's a bill coming up that's going to renew what our financial ask is of the federal government to fund Medicaid, and that'll be up as well. And so we're all prepping and doing our research right now to get ready to review the bill and the bill details. But it's a very good Medicaid. Politically can be a hot potato, but the real benefits it delivers for our community and communities throughout Oregon and rural areas is massive. Our hospitals depend depend largely, but are, a large part of their revenues comes from Medicaid. It, provides jobs, it provides health care, provides access, and any type of reduction in those benefits could be a real strain on hospitals, but, obviously then specifically the people who need to receive treatment from those. So we'll be following that one closely. And we'll have some other meetings this week, but that's the brief update I have for you now. I did have some discussions. I guess I should loop back in with the transient lodging tax. I will tell you there's a lot of interest in the building amongst the members of the Senate and the House to do something about it, which is good news. There's also a lot of pushback from the opponents of changing the transient lodging tax. I had some of the most heated discussions I've ever had in this building recently over this with people who don't want us to change the way that's allocated. So that is something that our communities desperately need, and so that will continue to be part of the conversation. I'll update you more on that as I have more progress for you. Right now, there's no specific hearing dates set for that, but I imagine sometime in February, early March, we'll have a hearing that where we'll get to talk about the issue. So with that, I'll actually wrap it up unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Just a couple of quick comments. I appreciate you talking about senior dental. For many of our seniors, that is not a coverage they have, and so they suffer a lot waiting for any kind of free clinic or save up money to get the dental they need. So I'm excited to hear that that's on the radar. OHCS, they just provided funding for Nehalem Bay House to be converted to senior apartments. That is part of their new affordable housing application process. So I would just encourage perhaps what they were sharing with you, which is once things get rolling in their new structure, it should work and hopefully work well. So that was one win for Tillamook County out of their new application process. So fingers crossed that that keeps happening. The other thing I'll share quickly with TLT, we're not talking much about it because we have an ordinance process underway, but I do want to share just some feedback that we got from stakeholder meetings, and that is that the intermediary charges are significant. That means Airbnb, VRBO, et cetera, and that those are creating a hardship. And there is a piece in the law that requires counties or those collecting the transient lodging tax to give them a 5% discount for Airbnb, VRBO, et cetera. So I would encourage, as you're looking at what changes could be made to that law, to consider the intermediary charges, because if you talk with your short-term rental owners, there is a significant pressure being placed on them in their ability to continue to operate at a cash positive level by those costs. So I'll stop there so I don't get in trouble with my legal counsel. Any other questions or comments for the representative or responses?
No, fair enough. I respect the sensitivity around there right now because of the upcoming vote or issue at the county level. So, but yes, I'll look into those other issues that are related and offline discuss what needs to change with them, with the county stakeholders. And yeah, any other questions? Sorry, I'd love to dive into more, but I think I could talk for the rest of the hour, and I got to get to this committee meeting here
Sure.
quick.
We appreciate that. Any other hot burning questions? Okay, not hearing any, we will release you to go and do your good work on behalf of the people. Thank you for being here, Representative.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
You betcha. Take care. Okay, so we will then move on to the Tillamook County Community Health Center with Ed Colson.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Tillamook County Health Department here. For our updates, our Tobacco Prevention Coordinator, Sana, has been in downtown Tillamook, speaking with folks and conducting a survey to help us learn more about how residents feel about tobacco use in the downtown area. The information gathered will help guide our planning efforts to address tobacco prevention and education in Tillamook County. Tillamook County Public Health will be at Houseless Connect tomorrow, Wednesday, January 29th, providing vaccinations, connection to health services, and information about our dental services. Our harm reduction team will also be there, providing Narcan training and kits for community members. And then Tillamook County Community Health Center is hosting an all-ages walk-in vaccine clinic on February 19th from 12 noon until 4 p.m. No appointment is necessary, and vaccines are available for parents, children, caregivers, anyone. Is your child up to date with their immunizations? Oregon law requires certain vaccinations for school and child care attendance. For exemptions, please check with your child's school or child care. Eligibility for vaccines vary by age, and many health plans cover the cost of vaccines. If you are under or uninsured, a sliding scale fee is available, and no one is turned away for the inability to pay. So we invite everybody to visit for the vaccine clinic on February 19th. And with that, that's our update.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Appreciate your shout out for the Homeless Connect, and I'll go ahead and just give that information right now while we're talking about it. So Wednesday, January 29th from 10 until 2 at the Tillamook County Fairgrounds will be the Homeless Connect event put on by CARE. It's an opportunity for anyone who is experiencing houselessness to have access to food, showers, clothing, blankets, assistance to get registered on the Oregon Health Plan, to animal care, resources to other services in the community, and referrals to other services. So if you or someone you know is experiencing houselessness, please help them get to the fairgrounds on Wednesday, January 29th from 10 to 2. Okay, thank you, Ed. We will move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Gail Nelson.
Yes, good morning, all.
Good morning.
A road closure announcement this morning. Hospital Road, which is the street that folks take to get up to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy in Wheeler. It's going to be closed today, Tuesday through Thursday of this week, from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And again, Hospital Road, today, tomorrow, and Thursday be closed. That's the road that people take to get up to the clinic here in Wheeler. And the closure is necessary for the installation of some of the utilities on the new site. And also, thank you, Ed and Aaron, for the announcement for the Homeless Connect events. There's also one, in addition to Tillamook, there's one January 28th in Clatsop County at the Seaside Convention Center. And yes, these events help provide resources to people who are unhoused and or at risk of being homeless. So our outreach team will see you both there at the January 28th event and January 29th. And that's it for me this morning, unless there's questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Gail. So on the days that the road is closed, is there an alternate way to get to the clinic?
Yes, thank you for saying that. It is Hall Street, and there will be signs posted on 101 where to turn.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions for Gail? Not hearing any. We will move on. Tillamook Family Counseling Center is unavailable this morning, so we'll jump right on to emergency management with Randy Thorpe.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Well, good chilly morning. Well, with these cold temperatures, I just wanted to let everybody know that CARE will have their warming center open again tonight and through Wednesday. It's at the St. Albans Church here in Tillamook. And they're doing overnight. It's from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. The doors open from 7 to 10 p.m. for intake. So if you need a place for tonight, please get there before 10 o'clock tonight to go through their process of intake. And we really appreciate the efforts that CARE does to help provide these services during these cold periods that we seem to be having quite frequently now. And with that weather, the cold is supposed to, of course, stay through Thursday. But, forecast there's supposed to be some rain coming in. Luckily, it's not those atmospheric river type rains. It's just going to be semi-normal rains for the Tillamook area through the weekend. They're saying temperatures probably will get low enough to get freezing rain, which is always a big plus if we get rain this time of year. Time of year. And the other big thing, if you've been watching the news at all, they I think we're going to get snow on the beaches maybe this weekend. Wishful thinking, I hope. But they're looking at the snow coming in basically Saturday night for the next couple of days through the weekend. And most of that will be at the high elevations that will get that. But it just all depends on what Mother Nature decides to do. So anyway, just it's a good time to think ahead, be prepared for some rainy and maybe some hazardous driving conditions this weekend if you happen to be traveling outside the Tillamook County area. So with that, be safe, enjoy these last few days of wonderful sunshine, and I'll turn it back to Commissioner Scar.
All right, thank you, Randy. Yeah, I did notice that potential mix of rain and snow in the forecast over the weekend. So we'll keep an eye on that and hope that perhaps we just stay with rain.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what we hope. It's just rain, and it's warm enough that it's just rain, and it's not that stuff that likes to freeze and build up on the roadways and our power lines.
Correct, or become just slippery snot on the road.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're hoping we don't have to deal with that because boy, that'll be a pain on Monday if that's still hanging around.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Randy before we move on? Not hearing any, we'll move on to the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Bell, would you kick us off, please?
Good morning. I'd be happy to. Well, I just want to mention what you, Commissioner Scar, mentioned earlier, talking to Representative Javity about that we're in the hearing process for hearings for an ordinance to increase the transient lodging tax, which taxes visitors on their overnight stays in Tillamook County. And I read something last night that was incorrect about our hearings. So I just want the public to know that we're having 2 hearings this week, which is one is at 10 o'clock at our regular Board of Commissioners meeting. People can attend remotely or in person. And our meeting starts at 9. The hearing is at 10. Excuse me. The second one is the same day, tomorrow night, Wednesday, at 5:30 at the Port of Tillamook Bay Boardroom. And that one we set up in case there are people who are working during the day who want to attend at night. And then there's a third hearing on Wednesday, February 12th at 10 a.m., also in our regular meeting. And I read something that was moving around and in the ether that said that we'd only scheduled the 2 hearings for tomorrow, which is not correct. So we've actually scheduled 3. We're looking forward to hearing from the community. And other than that, as you said earlier, we are in this process, so we can't discuss the content. So we welcome people to send us your comments or join us online or join us in person. And I think I will stop there today, Commissioner. I have a short report. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add just a little bit to yours, which is to remind people that the reason that when we put a new ordinance in, we are required to have 2 hearings, and they're required to be, I believe it's 2 weeks apart. And that requirement is set because these hearings are where we take public comment. It is where we consider what people are thinking about what we're thinking about. I know that there has been, in addition to the concern that we only had 2 and they were scheduled on the same day, because I also saw that in a publication and did reach out to the author to correct that. But also the response from the author was, well, I didn't count the one on February 12th because that's just your approval of it. I mean, any input you're going to take would have had to come before that. So I just want to talk a little bit about government process, because we went through this with another potential ordinance a couple of years ago where people came just angry, very angry that we had not asked for public input. In this case, we have asked for input ahead of these 2 meetings, but these 2 meetings are also expressly for public input and for us to talk about this possibility in public. So that is part of the process of government. And so I encourage people to be engaged with us, stay engaged with us, and recognize that these are not check the box hearings. They're not just so we can do what we want. These are where we hear from the public. So please do tell us what you think. Please understand that these are an opportunity for us to hear from you and potentially determine if this is or is not a right move forward. So I just want to highlight that because I think it gets lost sometimes in translation, and people think that once we get to a hearing point, it's a done deal. Okay, I will also keep my report fairly short this morning. We already talked about the Homeless Connect, but I do want to just remind people it's been a couple years, I think, since we had a full-on Homeless Connect event. I think CARE's been doing a great job during the pandemic and after of having small events moving around the county just to make sure everybody has what they need. But the second reason that this Homeless Connect event gets organized is that we are required in Tillamook County to do a point-in-time count for a HUD at the federal level. It is a requirement where during one night, which in this case, January 29th, the effort is made to count absolutely everyone that we can find who is currently experiencing houselessness in order to get an idea of the magnitude of the challenge in our community. We know that this count is generally woefully under the true number because it's difficult to find everyone on one night, particularly in a county like ours, which is long and narrow and rural and has many places for people to camp and otherwise just sort of stay out of sight. So we will do our best to get a good number because that number does impact funding and it impacts what the state will do and it impacts what the federal government will do. So just kind of a heads up that while these are wonderful events to get everyone what they need, they're also an opportunity. So you may also see volunteers moving around. You may see law enforcement engaged, trying to really contact folks over that 24-hour period to try to get a good count. So just FYI on that. And again, Wednesday the 29th, 10 to 2 at the fairgrounds. And I appreciate Gail bringing up the Clatsop County event. For some folks in North County, that's closer perhaps or easier to get to. And that is, I believe she said, that same week. The other thing I just wanted to bring up is the biological opinion. I can't remember if we've already talked about the lawsuit here. I think that we have, but it's just a reminder to everyone that we continue to push back at the federal government level. We've done so by joining with Oregonians for Floodplain Protection to file a lawsuit. The lawsuit was filed on January 6th of 25, and it specifically names the Department of Commerce, the National Marine Fisheries Service, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. These are all of the agencies at the federal level that we believe are playing a role in this work and have hopes that the judge that this will go in front of will put an injunctive order in place that will stop this. So we'll stay tuned with you all, let you know what comes of it, but the lawsuit's been filed and we continue to do our work in that arena to try to put the biological opinion on hold temporarily and ideally to stop it altogether. So more work to come. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end my report and we will move on to the cities. I believe that we have Mayor Stock with us from Manzanita this morning.
Good morning. You do. Can you hear me okay?
Good morning. We can.
Great. Thank you. Hey, just a few updates from Manzanita, and this is more in the spirit of, hey, that the important things that take a while continue to continue. So not new news for us, but the City Hall project continues on time and on budget, and we expect to be in there in the early summer, as we've been saying all along. We're making progress on what for us is a big street and water project called Classic Street. And we've got engineering that's continued on that and are moving into the next stage of that project, which is a large capital project for the city of Manzanita. And then one of our third priorities we've been working on for well over a year now is the overhaul, basically the redo of our comprehensive plan. And we're moving into another stage of work on that now, which means that the Planning Commission will be working and getting more involved now in the drafting for the housing-related changes that need to be made in Manzanita. So they've had an excellent session recently with a consultant team that are working on this, and the citizens who've been involved with getting public comment and public involvement, the committee that we have for that, also attended and learned more about what it will mean and a little bit more about the housing code, which most people don't get a chance to learn very much about. So that was an interesting session, and we've got a lot of work to do, I think, ahead of us in terms of further community engagement and communication so people understand what's coming and why. And then the last point I'll make about the comprehensive plan is that I think in early March now, we don't have a specific date, we'll be working with our team to create another, I'm sure, well-attended event relating to some of the chapters in the comprehensive plan that have to do with being on the beach. So the specialness of being on the beach, which is chapters 17 and 18. And the team are working hard to get some really good experts in to talk about those chapters and what they mean for a small town on the Oregon coast. And given that the first community session we had in October was basically a we didn't sell tickets, but was a sellout event. We're thinking that this one will be another really important kind of checkpoint or a community checkpoint as it relates to the comp plan. So we're really looking forward to that in March. And that's it for Manzanita. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Okay, so I am going to move on to Rockaway Beach and Mayor McNeely.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Good morning. I can.
Good. All right. Just a handful of items. We have an open house planned for February 26th to discuss what it takes to comply with Senate Bill 406. Cascadia Partners will cover middle housing and recommended zoning code amendments. And then in March, the 18th, we'll have a public hearing to present a draft version of our city's new source water protection plan, which is focused, of course, on our source water, which is Jetty Creek watershed. Just remind everybody that we are recruiting for a utility worker and a treatment plant operator for our Public Works Department. We are also recruiting a city planner. Please pass this along to anyone you think may be interested. And of course, more information can be found on our website. The Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, often called OWEB, will be conducting a site visit at Jetty Creek. OWEB is considering funding a restoration project on Jetty Creek. The Tillamook Estuaries Partnership is leading this project to install large wood placements, essentially log jams that will provide salmon habitat and help retain water on the landscape. If funded, this potential project could take place during the summer of 2025, this coming summer. And then last week, training in checking out and checking in David's track chair took place. All of us in attendance had a chance to experience this incredible piece of technology, ride in the chair, drive the chair firsthand. This chair will be available for reservation sometime in the next few weeks on davidschair.org. If you are interested in volunteering for this service, you can contact the Rockaway Beach Volunteers at 503-604-4131 or send an email to rbvolunteers followed by the number 1@gmail.com. With that, I'll turn it back to the commissioners.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Great information. Okay, you betcha. Thank you. Moving on to Garibaldi. Do we have anyone from the city of Garibaldi today? Okay, not hearing anyone. We will, and I received regrets from the city of Bay City today. Both the mayor and the city manager are at another meeting. So we'll move on to the city of Tillamook, and I do see interim city manager Kevin Perkins with us today. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Not a lot of updates from me today. Just want to remind everybody that our recruitment for our new permanent city manager opens on Monday. So we're excited to see what kind of pool we get from that. And then next week at the council meeting, we'll also be talking about a new public engagement program from our city PD and from our chief. So we're excited about that. And that's all I've got.
Perfect. Thank you. We appreciate you being with us today. Okay, with that, we are going to wrap up early today. And so I want to thank KTIL for broadcasting. I want to thank everyone for listening, and everybody go forth and have a fabulous day. We will adjourn at 8:34 a.m.